I can peel back the layers, I can take it to a point, but what lies at the center? Only one person can tell us who killed Cassandra Brand.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Talking Smack. I am returned. I am Josh Scar. I am your host. Thank you to Alex for the last 2 weeks for filling in for me, as I was unable to really kind of breathe. I apparently had influenza A, and I couldn't get any kind of prescription because I just missed the treatment window. So I had to let it run its course. But I am here. I am back, and I am excited to introduce to you, making their Talking Smack debuts, Karen and Ann from the Sugar Coated Murder podcast. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you so much, Josh. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks so much for making the time to be here. I am very excited. I missed 3 straight guest episodes, or two straight guest episodes. We had 3 guests over those 2 episodes with Raphael from the Geeky Dad, Caesar from No on 15, and then Justin from the Movie Wire. And I was just so bummed I couldn't hang out with them. And I'm very glad I could be here with you guys, at least.
Us too. We're so glad you're better.
Yeah, so glad you're feeling better and that you're back on the microphone. That's exciting. Yeah. Good for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stressing out the mic stand a little bit, but at least I'm able to center myself and stand on it. So we're good there.
Well, that's
good.
Now, you two are my favorite true crime podcasters. What? Truth be told, my only true crime podcasters. I tried to get Becky on here because she's a fan of the Your Favorite Murder, My Favorite Murder podcast.
Right.
Yeah, she's a big fan of them. And so I obviously I bought her a copy of your book, which you guys can feel free to talk about here in a second. But tell us a little bit about Sugar Coated Murder and what you like to do with your podcast.
So our podcast it combines 2 of our obsessions, and one is true crime, of course, and the other is baking. So for every episode, we are baking in the kitchen. One of us bakes a recipe that we've picked, and usually the other one doesn't know what's going to be baked. It's always a surprise, which is fun. And then while that person is baking, the other person describes or narrates or recounts a true crime murder case. And then once the goodies go in the oven and the first case is finished, then the other person that was in the kitchen comes out of the kitchen and then also discusses another true crime case. So we do 1 recipe and 2 cases per episode. And there's a little bit of humor in it. We're sisters.
We do a little drinking.
There's some drinking that goes on.
The more we drink, the less we
pronounce.
Yeah. But just have fun. It's, murder is a heavy topic. So we try to add a little bit of humor, and not about the murder itself, never about the murder, but, sister banter, trying to pronounce legal terms correctly, hoping that my dog stays a little quiet throughout.
It's always a challenge.
It is a challenge,
but we have a good
enjoy
time.
It.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we do. And we do get phone calls from Mama if we say bad words.
Oh, yeah.
So we try really hard not to. But I got to tell you, murder just really makes me mad. And a lot of times my filter just takes a tumble.
Yeah, but most of the time if we say sorry, Mama, it's okay.
Most of the time.
Sometimes not so much.
Yeah. Sometimes she's like, I heard sorry, but that doesn't matter. So, yeah, that doesn't give you permission.
I didn't raise you girls to talk that way.
Yeah.
We're in our 50s, by the way. Mama's in her 80s.
Yeah.
So
we're not sure at
we're
what
not
time,
catching any breaks.
No, we don't know when the rule about not saying bad words runs out with age. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
think it's whenever, it's until she takes her last breath and then some, I'm sure. So
we'll be hearing it for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
And then the guilt will always be there when you do say the things you're like, oh, Mama wouldn't like that.
Yes, 100%.
We'll always be saying sorry, Mama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's us in a nutshell.
Yep. And you can find our podcast on just all the normal listening apps, Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google and blah, 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 and yada, yada, Good Pods,
All the places.
all the places.
All
Yep.
the places. And then
Mhm.
you also recently had a book come out, which is amazing. Please tell us a little bit about the book, which I've plugged several times.
We wrote a book about a murder that happened in our hometown, and we knew the murderer. We knew the victim a little bit. We'd never met the victim, but we knew the victim's family. And we knew one of the murderers, the other murderer we didn't know. But part of our intent with our podcast has always been to find a way to tell the victim's story, because we feel like the victim gets lost in their own story. The most information we find about murder cases is about the murderer, not about the victim. You can find the victim's information in the obituary. Sometimes you're lucky enough to have a victim impact statement from the family in court documents, but mainly it's all about the murderer. And we want to find a way, or we've tried since we started our podcast, to find a way to give the victims a little bit of their story back. And that's what we try to do with this book.
And the book ideally is part of an upcoming or a series of books as well, correct?
That is correct. So we've decided, as we were writing this book, we've covered a lot. We've been doing the podcast for over 3 years. So we've got like almost 120 episodes out there. And so this is not the first victim that we have found that really and truly got lost in his own story. And we decided as we were writing this book that there's so many more victims out there that need this platform or this voice lended to them to put them back into more of a presence in their own story. So we decided that this would be a series. So this book that we released is the first book of the series, called Say My Name. And the whole point of the series is to get people talking about the victim and less about what
The murderer,
happened
right.
to the victim.
Yep.
Just to recognize that victim was more than just a victim. They were a whole person with family and friends and a whole life before that life got cut short by somebody else's hand. So yeah, this is the beginning of a series.
And I think the name of the series is very apt with what you just said. The Say My Name series, like obviously you're trying to get people to understand that the victims are people, not just plot devices in this crazy person's
Right.
story. So I love that, and I have the book. I have not had the chance to read it yet, but it is on my short list of things to get to before I have to start hitting the road again.
Oh, thank you so much.
We appreciate that. We really do. We hope you enjoy it. And, we hope that when people read this book that they will realize that victims need a voice and they need to be remembered as people, not just as a victim, but also that their story doesn't have to end at the end of a court case. Like, they need to still be remembered and they need to be talked about, and they need to be given a place in their hometown or wherever to be permanently memorialized. And that's kind of what our goal is right now.
Right.
So we're hoping that we get there.
Yeah.
Well, if your dedication to the podcast, and again, just taking on the task of writing and publishing a book, I think you guys will do wonderful things with this series.
Thank you.
Thanks. I hope so.
Yeah.
We certainly are trying.
It's a very affordable $12.99 on Amazon, correct?
It is.
It's $12.99 on Amazon, and it comes in paperback, or you can get it on Kindle. And I don't know the price of Kindle, honestly.
I think $5.99 for
Something
Kindle,
like
maybe.
that. Yeah.
And then, of course, if anybody wants an autographed copy, we charge $20, and they can send us an email, and or not $20 plus shipping. So it's
Yeah.
usually about $25. We'll sign it and send the copy back to them.
Yep.
And a portion of the money that we make on this book will go toward setting up a memorial garden for the victim in our hometown.
And that's awesome. So we'll have a link to the Amazon sales page as well. Do you guys have a website?
We do. Our website is sugarcoatedpod.com. And that also has links on there to, of course, to the podcast, but also on ways to buy the book. So they can go there. And then our email, there's a contact form there that you can fill out and contact us. If people want an autographed copy, they can contact us through there, and our email's on there. But just in case somebody needs the email and doesn't want to go to the website, it's murder.sugarcoated@gmail.com. And like Ann said, you let us know what you want, and we usually do Venmo or PayPal or whatever, and we've got books here, and we'll personalize it and sign it and get it shipped out.
And we'll put that link in the episode description as well. So
Thank you.
we'll make sure you get that all taken care of and covered.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Josh.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that.
We also invite listeners, if you have a story that you'd like for us to look into and investigate, we can do the story on our podcast. If you know a victim that needs to be showcased in a town, maybe they've been forgotten, we're still looking for ideas for future books. Absolutely reach out to us, and we'd be happy to entertain those ideas.
And there you go. All right. Well, we are here to talk about Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. But first,
Oh my gosh.
we're going to hear
Yes.
from everyone here. We're all friends with J&K at the Fuck My Work Life podcast. Sorry,
Yep.
Mama, it's their title, not mine.
That's right, Mama.
Love it.
So we're going to hear from them real quick, and we'll be right back to talk about Glass Onion.
Perfect. We love them.
Have you ever had a bad day at work?
Well, the Fuck My Work Life podcast is perfect for you.
Host J&K share listeners' entertaining stories from the workplace, which may have you thinking you don't have it so bad after all.
Find Fuck My Work Life on your favorite podcast platform.
And we are back, and we are here with Karen and Ann from the Sugar Coated Murder podcast to talk about Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Now,
Yay.
when we had discussed bringing you on for this episode, obviously with your ties to true crime podcasting, I was like, oh, a whodunit mystery is going to be like the perfect thing to bring these ladies on for. Karen, I believe it was you who had not seen the original Knives Out. Have you seen it since we discussed it?
I have seen it. I have not seen all of it. I will be honest with you. I have seen all of the Glass Onion, and I saw probably 3/4 of Knives Out. I just am going to put it out there that I really enjoyed Glass Onion a little bit more than the original Knives Out movie. I probably am the only person in the world that would ever say that, but yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the scenery. I don't know what it was that captured my attention with this, but
Jamie Lee Curtis is not going to be happy with that statement.
I know she's not. She's not. I'm so sorry.
And we know
Jamie Lee
she's the
Curtis,
biggest fan
you
of this
know she's
podcast.
listening. I mean, please. Yes. If she wants to come on to Josh's podcast and discuss this with us openly, I'm happy to oblige. And I'm sure Josh is too.
Oh yeah, I'd love Jamie Lee Curtis on this podcast. That would be amazing.
Yes.
So we'll have to tag her when you start doing promos for this episode. We're going to start tagging her and saying, Jamie Lee, we've got an open dialogue here on which movie was better.
Anne liked both movies equally.
So I really enjoyed Glass Onion. I did kind of want to talk about like which one did we prefer. I think I preferred Knives Out more because it was a little bit more linear, and I liked the family dynamic of the cast more than I liked the like random group of people in
Right.
Glass Onion.
Yeah.
I think the
see that.
family dynamic, and not to get too spoilery right away, I would like to try and do a non-spoiler discussion first. I like that a big part of Knives Out is that Ana de Armas's character is like trying to sabotage the investigation, where this one seems much more straightforward until you
Yep.
hit the midway point in the movie,
Right.
and then you get a little bit of a twist. But I like the idea that we think in the first movie we know exactly what happened, and then throughout the course of the movie details are revealed and it comes out that something different happened.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that a lot more, just because I think it's more because it was linear, whereas with this one we play out a half of a movie and then we backtrack to just before the movie, and then we play the rest of the movie along with it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, but it was just a little too different for me.
So for me, the way I kind of looked at it was the first movie was like a puzzle. It was more like an onion, more like peeling back the layers, So I thought maybe we were going to be getting into the same kind of thing when the big invitation came for this party that everybody's going to. because it was such a layered puzzle. I thought, all right, well, we got layers, but maybe not as many as the first one. It was good though. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So I felt like this one was, I don't know the word for it, campier. Is that a word?
Yeah.
This one felt a little campy to me, which I don't know. Maybe that's something that I enjoy. I don't know.
I don't know. Campy.
Maybe I just was in a campy mood, but
Were
this
y'all
one-
roasting marshmallows?
No, there were no marshmallows to be
Wow.
had. No, but I could be a little bit Christmas strung out at this point in my life. So, but I thought it was a little campy, which I didn't mind for this one, where I thought there was none of the campiness, the quirkiness and stuff. I don't know. I felt like this cast of characters were so disjointed, it actually made it interesting for me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I can definitely understand that. Yeah. So let's dive into Glass Onion, because most everyone who's listening to this right now has probably seen at least most of, if not all of, the original Knives Out. So with Glass Onion, we meet up with Benoit Blanc once again.
Benoit. I gotta love Benoit.
He's
My
so
goodness.
funny.
What a funny man.
He's great. I love Daniel Craig, so
I mean, I
think-
love that they're making Daniel Craig have that deep Southern
I know.
accent. It's hilarious.
What did you think of his sleuthing gang of Angela Lansbury?
Oh
Who
my
else do you
God.
have on that call with him?
I actually watched it a second time and I didn't catch on to
I
who
didn't.
all the characters were, but when he was in the bathtub
Yes.
talking to his people, because it's
Yes.
the pandemic.
Oh, that's right.
It was Angela Lansbury.
R.I.P.
Kareem
Tasha.
Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's crazy. See, campy. That's kind of campy. Like that's so unexpected and quirky, and like that in itself was just a disjointed cast of characters anyway.
It was.
It was nice to see Angela Lansbury again too. Like that was a very welcome cameo surprise.
Yes, it was. There definitely seemed to be a lot of little nuggets of like little pockets of fun in this movie. I guess nuggets, Easter eggs, is that what they call them?
Yeah.
Easter
Yeah.
eggs.
I think
Yeah,
that's
like
what
Ethan
they
Hawke
call
showing
them
up and
these
being
days.
the COVID cure administrator
Yes.
and just never coming back. He's just there for that one
He's just there
scene.
for like a second,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, what is his role going to be? And then you just never see him again. So it's pretty crazy.
Wait, who was it? The guy on the beach?
Ethan Hawke was the guy that was
Yeah,
shooting
Ethan
the
Hawke.
COVID cure into their
Ethan
mouths.
Hawke's-
Oh,
their
he was doing
tongues.
that. Right. Okay.
Yeah, the
he
guy
was
on the
that
beach
one.
was Daryl, who was played by Noah Sagan.
Okay.
But he was just a gag. He was just there to be like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
he comes back at the end too, which I thought was
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, I kept thinking, what is he? I immediately thought, okay, he's the one that did it. Like whatever's happening, he did
He's
it. But
got
then
something
he
to do
had
with it.
nothing to do with the movie
No, he's
whatsoever.
just a dude walking around. It was
But I
funny.
kind of wish they had gotten somebody a little bit more recognizable than him. Like I think it would have been really funny, like if Matthew McConaughey played that part or somebody like that. Just that would have been like so random, but somebody a little bit more recognizable.
Even Snoop Dogg. That would have been
Oh,
hilarious.
don't even start with Snoop. I mean, please.
I thought he was going to end up being the murder victim because he was just there. They ran the gag a few times before the first murder happens.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be the guy who gets murdered, because most of the trailers we see the entire cast and crew together. So I've been wondering who's the one that actually gets murdered.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right.
I
Yeah,
thought he
thinking
was
the same-
actually going to be the murderer.
right. So, but he was in the first movie. So I didn't know if that was another one of those little Easter egg things, you know?
Oh, I didn't catch that. No.
Yeah, he played one of he was a trooper, one of the police officers in the first movie.
No, that's so funny. I
Oh.
didn't catch that either. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, look at that. He's Trooper Wagner.
How about that?
Huh. Look at Anne uncovering an Easter egg that we didn't even know existed.
Listen, I was told to prepare a podcast to talk about this movie, and that is what
That
I
is
did.
what I did.
You came more prepared than I did.
Research.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it.
How about that Dave Bautista character? He's
Quite the character.
quite the character.
There's a whole lot of him.
Tell me, does a gun work? like when you bring it out of the water wet, does
No.
it still work?
I had that thought too. I'm not a gun aficionado, so I had no idea, but I wouldn't think so.
No. That's not how it works. But unless you have some very fancy, like maybe it's a James Bond 007 type of gun that can go underwater. But I typically would not recommend people swimming with their handguns strapped to their bathing suits.
It's not even, I wouldn't call that a bait. It's like a loincloth.
Strapped to their loincloths.
Oh yeah, that was a Speedo. He was calling back to his
I was
WWE
worried
days.
about it when he clipped the gun to the front. I thought, oh my God, it's gonna like weigh the front of that thing down. And we're gonna see a lot more of him than we bargained for.
They may have had to do more than one take on that. I'm just saying right now.
Definitely.
So with this movie, we get about like an hour and 10 minutes into this movie, which is almost 2 hours and 20 minutes before we get to the murder, which again, I think that's part of where I enjoyed the first one more, because it kicks off with the death, and we continue on to find out that things aren't as they appear. Where this one, it's fairly straightforward. The only real mystery that we have until the murder is, what's Benoit Blanc doing there? How did he get the invite? What's happening? Because we discover that he got an invitation to this private island that Edward Norton's character, Miles Braun, owns, and he's having this get together with some old friends, and he sent them all this big Rubik's Cube of a puzzle box, and Benoit Blanc just happens to be there. And it kind of felt like what they set up in the first movie, where he just got a random wad of cash and was like, hey, come investigate this. Where this one is more, hey, there's going to be a murder mystery party, let's have Benoit Blanc there. But twist, Miles Braun doesn't know that Benoit Blanc was invited to this party.
See, and I think for me, going into it, knowing there's gonna be a murder, but it doesn't smack you in the face in the beginning, it makes me pay more attention, because I know that there are things that are happening in that movie that I'm supposed to be paying attention to. And I think that's the difference between this and the first one, is because I knew I had to pay attention. And then the other one, it's like, okay, somebody's already been murdered. Now they're going to tell me the story. So I guess it's a different approach.
Oh, right. Yeah.
See what I'm saying? The difference and I think I pay more attention if the reward comes later than if I get the reward up front. Reward being murder. In this case, only in this case.
I love it.
So without spoiling who gets murdered, did who got murdered? Were you expecting that, or were you expecting someone else?
I was expecting someone else.
I was definitely expecting someone else. And I wasn't expecting the person that did the murder to be the person that murdered.
See, with that one, I actually called that when the trailer dropped. I have receipts with Alex where I was just like, oh, this person's going to be it. If they're not the one that gets murdered, this is going to be the person. To kind of ruin the movie magic, the rule of thumb with these sort of things is, who's the most famous person in the movie? If they're the main character, they're safe. If they're not the main character, but they're a side character or a supporting character, they're probably the murderer. So in this case, you have Daniel Craig in the first movie, and then you had Ana de Armas as the two main characters, and then Chris Evans is the next most famous person. So he's the murderer.
Okay.
And in this case, I pretty much called that one from the get-go, because, or if you're looking at this cast list, you're like, okay, this is the most famous person. That's what it is. But I think where this movie really succeeds is that it's not necessarily about who done it. It's more about the why done it.
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
Because as we discussed earlier, there's a time jump where once we hit that first murder, there's another sequence of events that happens. And finally, Benoit's like, all right, this shit's got to end. We're going to just go over this Scooby-Doo style and just retrace our steps. And we're going to solve this thing. Yeah, and then the movie kind of plays out all over again, and from a new perspective.
I mean, I got frustrated with this movie a little bit, because there was a part of the story that they just weren't telling you. And I was like, okay, I don't know how this one character fits into all of this. I don't understand. There was a court case, there was an event that happened, but we didn't know about it until close to the end of the movie. And I felt like I wanted to know that earlier.
Ricky and I were talking about how this whole movie doesn't happen if Miles Braun doesn't send that box to Janelle Monáe's character, Andy.
Right.
Like, obviously the movie has to happen, so he does it. But like, if he doesn't do that, there's no mystery here. So it's kind of a weird move by him to invite all this chaos onto his island where he's trying to have a fun murder mystery party with his friends. I think that's probably the biggest flaw I have in the script for this movie,
Right.
but it doesn't make it any less fun. You're not necessarily looking for the logic of what the characters are doing. You're looking for the logic to solve the mystery of the movie.
And I felt like in the beginning there was the mystery of who are these people and why are they all together?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't just come right out and tell you that. The movie plays for a little bit before you are told finally who are these people and why are they, like, how do they fit together as a group?
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you have Catherine Hahn's character who's running for governor. You have Kate Hudson's character Birdie, who is like a social media influencer and a fashionista. You have Dave Bautista's character Duke, who is a YouTube Twitch star. And then you have Leslie Odom Jr., who plays Lionel, and he works for Ed Norton's character as like his head of research and development. And so it's a real big mishmash of people that you're like, what is this connecting thing? And even the initial explanation makes no sense either when Edward Norton explains to Benoit Blanc, like, oh, how is the governor of New Jersey and a fashionista from Los Angeles, how are all these people meeting together? And he's just like, oh, we're disruptors. We hang out and we recognize each other. You know, it makes sense. Like, no, it makes no sense.
It makes no sense at all. And it still didn't answer the question as to, it took a really long time as to how did they meet? Like he says, how did you all get to be a group? And he's like, oh, we're all disruptors. And I'm still thinking, but that doesn't explain how you all were in the same place at the same time.
Well, it took me a minute to even figure out what the heck a disruptor is. I mean,
Well,
they're
I
just throwing
know.
words out there.
He was
Like,
just throwing some words out. That's okay. I figured out they
what
all
the
had
heck?
a label, no
Right.
matter what the label was. They all had this label that they fell under, but it still didn't tell me how the hell did y'all all end up in the same place at the same time? Like, I
Exactly.
still don't understand. Was there a convention? Like,
and hello, can I get one of those invitations, please? You and I would still be trying to figure it out. We would have never made it
I
to
would
the
have done the
island.
hammer thing.
Definitely
the
the
hammer
hammer.
thing. Like, first thing, I'd have been like,
No, we're not doing
I don't
this.
do this. We're just going to turn it upside down and hit it with a hammer until we figure this out.
That opening sequence where they were all on the call together trying to figure out how to open this invitation was great, with Jackie Hoffman playing Dave Bautista's mom.
Yeah.
And she knows all the answers to the puzzle. She's, oh, it's a Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm like, I've only ever heard that phrase once, and that was in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I loved her character. Really, really loved her character. And I thought that the puzzle was a lot of fun to watch them, because it was all these different, I don't know, I would call them IQ games.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I would have failed, like the first one, obviously. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't mind having a game like that. But if it was an invitation, I would be like, I'm not going to this stupid.
No.
I'm not going.
It's a complicated
This is
party.
so
I can't do
complicated.
it.
I'm not doing this. Tell me what happens at the party. I'll send home. I'm still trying to figure out my puzzle. So
Yeah, I would have never gotten past the first puzzle, which is one of those cross your eyes and you'll see a boat kind of things.
some of the puzzles they figured out and moved on, and I'm like, wait, what happened?
Right.
But still, I mean, I thought it was interesting. It had a lot of layers to it, and I thought it was very complex in almost like in a Harry Potter kind of a way.
So let's move into spoilers, because I don't know that we can really discuss too much else without diving into spoilers.
All right, we're spoiling it, y'all.
Here we go.
So the murder that kickstarts this whole thing within the movie is Dave Bautista's murder. Did you catch the sequence that is later revealed, where he takes the wrong glass? Did you catch that initially, or did you have to wait for the movie to bring it back up and spell it out for us?
I did not catch it initially.
I didn't either. I didn't catch
We're
it.
just not that smart, Josh.
I didn't catch it either. That's one of those moments where you're like, oh yeah, I should have been paying attention to that, because you're trying to catch these little moments. And but the movie does a great job of making you second guess it, because the moment it happens, they make you think that it was just a mix up. Like he literally just absent-mindedly grabbed the wrong glass, whereas the murderer actually hands it to him in a sneaky, like, sleight of hand kind of way.
Now, I did pick up when after he died on the floor and the cell phone is still ringing, I knew who had that cell phone. But I couldn't figure out why he still had this. Like you could hear it ringing and people were looking for it. And so I was like, oh, I know exactly where the cell phone is, but why did he take it? Like, why is it in his pocket? Like, it did take me a minute, but I did catch that he had the cell phone. I mean, does that make me a genius?
Yep.
I think so. Because as I mentioned, I had the murderer figured out, which we're in spoilers now, so we'll say it was Edward Norton's character, Miles Braun. He was the murderer of Dave Bautista, and in this one they had a second murder, which is Janelle Monáe's character, Andy Brand. She plays dual roles as her sister, which oh geez, what was her name? Like Hannah, or it started with an H.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you.
Helen, that's right. So she plays a pair of twins that Andy was murdered by Miles Braun, because tech bros got to be killing people.
Yep.
And Miles Braun also just very transparently an Elon Musk allegory, which I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Which another thing that looking through IMDb and listening to other podcasts about this, if you notice, he never has an original thought or outfit in the movie. So like the first time we're introduced to him, he's got like the long flat hair with the outfit and everything, and he's looking completely ridiculous. That's actually a reference to Tom Cruise's character in the movie Magnolia. So like every time we see him, he's just looking like someone else that he's basically just trying to rip off of their gimmick.
Yeah.
So like there's another point where he's looking like Steve Jobs, and then when we meet him, he's just being this weird hippie bro kind of thing, which
Yeah.
I mean, you see that in a lot of excessive wealth people, where they just kind of start being like, hey, chill, peace and love, man, but that obviously that's not really who they are.
Yes, and then he says something about we're going to breathate. What was that word that
Right.
he made up?
Imbreviate.
Yes, imbreviate. I was like, what the heck is that word? And turns out I wasn't stupid. It really doesn't. It's not a word. I'm like, why don't I know this word? So, but I guess when you get to a certain point of wealth in your life, you just get to make up words.
Yeah.
And people, because you're surrounded by people that just say yes to you all the time, you make up a word and they just go with it. Because
we make up words.
We make up words all the time, but nobody accepts them.
It's true.
Like,
well, to quote Thor in Avengers Infinity War, all words are made up.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. So anyway, it was.
Now that we're in spoilers, how did you feel about the structure of the movie, where you essentially have Benoit Blanc playing a role in trying to uncover the murder of Andy Brand, Janelle Monáe's character, and then in the second half of the movie, where he's working with Helen, Andy's twin, and kind of we find out that he's trying to kind of sabotage the weekend, because Miles Braun had this whole like murder mystery weekend planned out, and Benoit is like, hey, do we win anything for solving the murder?
that
Great.
So
And
funny.
I guess you can win an iPad, sure. And then he's like, okay, cool, it's it's Kate Hudson. She's going to be the murderer just because of the way the seats are laid out, and you're going to get killed by the crossbow over there. And he solves it before the murder ever even actually happens.
I thought that was so funny.
It was
when he did that.
hilarious.
It's like, oh, I spoiled all of your fun. And at that point, you still think that he just ended up there randomly. You don't know that he's actually there because he put himself there. So you think, oh my God, like he just walks in and he's just like, yeah, I already figured this out. So we can just get on with the rest of our lives.
It's boring.
Boring. It's so boring.
And it's a great little character moment too, because when we're introduced to Benoit Blanc, he's playing the game Among Us with Angela Lansbury, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Natasha Lyonne, and someone else I can't remember. so he's just like, oh, I hate this game because it makes no sense. It's stupid. I'm terrible at stupid things. And the fact that this murder mystery is such child's play that even the average person would have been like spending the entire weekend trying to solve the murder. He's just like, oh yeah, the way that everything is set up right now, it's obviously going to be this person.
So
So I thought it was interesting, though. There was a lot of hype before this movie came out about a Hugh Grant cameo, and I didn't see him in the movie.
you
Oh, you didn't catch it? He was
I didn't, but
Oh.
now he must be the very beginning. But for some reason, I've missed it. I've watched the movie twice now, and I've missed it both times.
oh yeah, he's his partner who answers the door at the apartment when
Yeah,
when
Janelle
he's in the
Monáe's
bathtub.
twin
Yeah,
shows
and I
up.
missed it.
He's the one that answers the door.
But you don't know that until towards the end. Like almost at the end is where they play that for you. Right, Josh? I didn't see him in the beginning, but I saw him in the
No,
end.
that was, I think that was more in the middle once the reveal is given that.
Once the reveal. Oh, that's true. Once you know that Andy is dead and Helen has gone to what's his face? Benoit
Right,
for
right.
Yes.
help. It's when she goes to his
Isn't
to
it
see him
funny?
for the first
I
time.
missed it both times.
Yeah, Hugh Grant opens the door. And I was like, wait a minute, that's Hugh Grant.
Again, another
So,
Easter egg. They just
another
little
Easter
pop-ins
egg.
everywhere. I love
Yeah,
it. The
that was
Serena
fun.
Williams
I
cameo.
love the Serena Williams thing.
The
that
Serena
she
Williams cameo was
hilarious.
great.
She was sitting there waiting for
Like,
him to
hello?
work out with her. She's like, is anybody going to work out? And at first you see Fitness with Serena, and I'm thinking, oh, that must be like one of those mirror things.
Yeah,
You know, that you can work out with a virtual person.
right.
And then she's actually there on a TV screen waiting to work out.
Yes.
Then she's like,
While
wow,
they're having this really secretive conversation about trying to uncover a murder.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's like she's so non-bothered by that. She just wants to know, are we working out or not? And if we aren't, I'm going to go back and read my book. And I thought
Yeah.
that was really cute.
Even Ricky pointed that out. She'd mentioned that it was really a weird pose for her to be in, and just sitting there in this advertisement. She's like, that's really weird cross promotion. And then she started speaking, and she's like, oh my god.
That's kind of how I felt, because I kept looking at it thinking, it must be one of those workout mirrors. I don't even know what they're called. Are they called the mirror? I don't know
Yeah,
what
I'm pretty sure they're called mirrors or something like that.
Okay. And I thought, oh, that's so funny. He's so rich. He hires Serena Williams to send him videos of working out.
Right.
And then it's really her just sitting there real time waiting for him to come down to the gym and work out. It's like, oh my gosh, another sign of extreme wealth. And then the fact that she overhears them talking about this murder plot, and she is completely unbothered by it.
Yeah,
It
she just wants
doesn't
to get back
affect
to her
her.
book.
She's not curious. She's not like, oh my God, somebody got murdered.
Right.
She's like, are we working out or not? And then she goes away.
Yeah, gotta love those cameos.
Yeah, I thought that was fun.
Yeah, that was a real good one. With this first murder that we have, the first murder was Dave Bautista, and that one I was caught off guard with that one too, because like I said, I thought it was gonna be like Noah Segan's character Daryl, who is just kind of bumming on the island. Like Edward Norton's character is like, just don't worry about him, it's fine. So I thought he was gonna end up being the murder victim, because he's a nobody, so no one's gonna miss him if he's gone, and you get the rest of the people to have these performances.
Yeah, I did not expect for Dave Bautista to be the murder victim at all.
Mm-mm.
I thought it was going to be one of the, I would say, less recognizable, like the I guess Kate Hudson's assistant,
Oh, Peg.
Peg, and then also Dave Bautista's girlfriend, Whiskey. I thought it would end up being one of them, because they're just kind of, I mean, I hope they're not listening, but they're kind of nobody. So, but if you are listening, this is
No.
Anne talking.
No, it is not. No.
But I just thought that because they were lesser known, they were more expendable. So I thought maybe it was going to be one of them. But then I thought, as you keep going, I'm thinking it's got to be somebody in this group is going to die. And I really thought it was going to be Ed Norton that
I thought he was going to be the real, like he was really going to die.
I thought he was going to be the real murder victim.
Yeah.
Even after Dave Bautista bit the dust.
I thought that the one of the swords was going to get him.
The swords. Yeah, so I really thought that he was going to be the one to get it, and he didn't. And then it just kind of changed it up a little bit. But I really expected for one of these people to be. I just thought it was the random guy on the beach was going to be the one murdering him to try to take over his empire. But boy, was I wrong.
And let me just backtrack for one quick second. The actress that plays Whiskey
Yes.
is in the show Outer Banks. So it's not
Oh, I
that
didn't
she's
know.
not well known. It's we don't know her well.
Yeah, and
Duh.
Jessica,
Right. And then that Jessica Henwick,
Yeah.
she's been in The Matrix. She was on Game of Thrones. So it's really just us. She's been in some Marvel movies, Star Wars
Oh
movies.
yeah, she's
so.
not in our genre.
So it's because we're older that we don't recognize her.
Sorry, Jessica Henwick
And Madeline Klein.
and Madeline
Sorry.
Klein. Y'all are somebody just in my world. I don't know who
Not
the hell
so
y'all are.
much. Right.
But now
Yeah,
I do. Now I'll know them for being in this movie.
and she
So-
was in the Netflix Defenders series as well.
Right.
She was
things
also in an underrated suspense thriller, Underwater, with Kristen Stewart. I would highly recommend that one if you're okay with like confined spaces and monster movies.
Oh no, we're too
Underwater
scared
is
to watch
really
those
good.
stuff.
We don't do monster movies because we're scaredy cats.
Oh, so am I.
Talk about
I
murder,
don't
but-
normally do horror movies, but I heard this one was kind of like an underwater Cloverfield, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
No,
I'm really
we're not
claustrophobic.
going to watch that.
I don't see that being on my list of things to
No.
watch.
It's a big no.
But I mean, kudos to her for being in a great movie. Just not one that we've seen.
Us,
This is on
it's
us.
just
This is all about us not knowing them, not
Right.
them not being
famous.
Oh,
important.
yeah, I wouldn't say they're name actors. They're more like, oh, that person kind of actors right now.
Right.
But maybe with the success of Glass Onion, maybe they get a few more roles.
Maybe.
I really hope so. I just really hope so because I felt like whoever Peg was, that she was completely underrated in this movie. She should have had more of a. She should have had more of an active role.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's very compelling as Kate Hudson's character's public relations
Dirty
agent.
J.
Yeah, I would think she was like her publicist,
Somebody,
/
yeah,
assistant
somebody,
person. I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know how the stars do things, but it
She
seems
was her
like to
accountability
me-
buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's kind of like her handler.
Oh, right.
Yes.
There you go.
You
I
know,
like
she's
that.
her handler. She's the one
Because
that
Birdie's a quote unquote free speaker. She says truths that
Yes.
people just don't want to hear, which I can't
Yeah.
remember the line directly, but Benoit says a great line of like, don't confuse not having a filter for speaking the truth.
I love
Yes,
it.
I thought it was really good when he said that. Yes, he said something about being a truth sayer is not the same as just not having a filter or something, or saying whatever you feel. And she even says, I say it how I see it. That's what her like whole little
Right.
thing. So yes, I thought this little Peg girl was kind of like her handler.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, it's my job. I get paid a lot of money to keep her. She's her own worst enemy, and so I protect her from herself as much as
Yes.
possible.
Yes.
Yeah, I have the quote here. It's a dangerous thing to mistake speaking without thought for speaking the truth.
Yes.
Such a great line. Such a great line. We should probably make a bumper sticker out of that or something. Not a bumper sticker, because if it's too long, people will run in the back of you while they're,
right.
and then it's gonna be your
That's
fault. so.
annoying.
But yeah, it's definitely something.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll use it in one of our books.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We plagiarize that.
We'll just pick that right up off of Daniel Craig. He won't mind.
So one of the things that it seems to be kind of a little theme between the two Knives Out movies so far is that Benoit teams up with someone who is an integral part of the investigation, which in this case, it's Helen, Andy's sister, who is impersonating Andy throughout this weekend. And they're working together to figure out who killed Andy. And obviously in the first movie, we had him teaming up with Ana de Armas because she was quote unquote the help. And he wasn't suspecting her from the get-go. But in this one, I thought the team up was a little different. I didn't quite find the chemistry as compelling as I did between Benoit and I wish I could remember Ana de Armas's character. But between the two, um, I, I, I really enjoyed it because I thought that like the idea of which more Easter eggs,
Marta.
uh, Marta. That's right. Yes. Thank you. Yes. I thought the idea of Helen getting drunk off of Jared Leto's hard kombucha was hilarious. And she's like,
Yes,
"Oh,
that
I
was.
don't drink. Oh, this
And
isn't alcohol. It's kombucha. It's health nonsense."
yeah, yeah. I thought that was
That's
funny.
so
So there was
funny.
Jared Leto's kombucha, whatever it's called, and then was it
Jeremy Renner's hot sauce.
Yes, Jeremy
Yes.
Renner's hot sauce.
Coincidentally
So that was
enough, I'm
so
wearing my
funny.
Hawkeye shirt today, which I
Oh,
mean
I
you can't see me, but
know. That's so funny. So yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. The name dropping that was happening, going on was kind of funny.
yeah. What did you think of the hot sauce scene where it's going up her nose?
Oh
Oh my
I
God, that
just
was
kept thinking she was going to
hilarious.
sneeze. Like I kept thinking, oh, that would make me
Yes.
sneeze so bad. And oh, that was really funny. It was like one of those. Is it going to really go there? Is it going to really go there? So it was good. I thought
Yeah,
that was good.
that was a good tension builder because you're like, oh, is she going to be able to hold it until
Yeah.
the everyone can't see her? Which that also gave me flashbacks to when I was in my early 20s. I went to a big music concert where you like camp out and there's like dozens of music stages going on, and we met up with a bunch of people from Mississippi. Which that's when I learned Mississippi to locals is Mississippi. There is no
Mississippi.
Mississippi. And we met Spoon and Matati, which shout out to you guys if you're listening somehow. And Spoon decided one night he was gonna snort a shooter of Tabasco sauce.
No.
Yeah, that he burned his sinuses pretty good that night.
What the heck
Oh
possessed him?
no. Oh,
Well,
Spoon.
his name is Spoon.
We're young
you
and
know.
20 and something, and just making bad decisions while having
Ah.
fun at a music festival.
Yeah, I wonder if he has any sense of smell now.
I don't know. Spoon, if you're listening, let us know.
Yes, let us know, Spoon. We are dying to hear from you from Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Spoon from Mississippi. I don't want to say I hate it because it calls back to what happened in the first movie with the prop knife where Chris Evans' character Ransom tries to stab Marta. In this one, Ed Norton tries to shoot Helen through one-way glass, and it hits her in the chest, and her sister's diary stops it from
Yes.
actually hitting her.
Mhm.
And I was like, you're pressing your luck with that one a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think that would have stopped it. I don't think that book would, like, if it had been an iPhone or something like that, I could buy into it a little bit more, but
Come on, it was a leather-bound mini book.
it didn't even look leather bound. It
Yes.
looked like one of those government issued log books.
Government issue.
Well, those are
I
automatically
think it would stop a
bulletproof.
bullet.
You think it would
I
stop a bullet?
do. I really do.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess the bullet's got to pass through the glass first, so that's going to
Slow it
a
down.
little bit. Maybe. I don't know, but
Maybe.
maybe.
But like I said, it fits the motif of this series, but it was a little, that was kind of pushing their luck a little bit. Like, oh, it
Yeah.
just happened to go there. I think it would have been better if she just kind of like passed it off, like, oh, I dodged it or something.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
oh,
If it had just
You heard a
like
gunshot
grazed
and you just
her.
drop.
Yeah, it was weird.
But I did enjoy the second half of the movie, I think, a little bit more because, as we've discussed, you're kind of waiting for that reward of the murder, and I love that Benoit just kind of like goes like, all right, enough of this shit. Let's just go and solve this thing, and let's get this taken care of. And then we get the recap where we find out Helen's been posing as Andy this entire weekend, and they're trying to figure out who killed Andy, and through the circumstances of things, how Andy's murder or alleged suicide becomes public knowledge, and Dave Bautista is the first one to find out about this because he has alerts on everyone in the group, as well as way too many alerts for everything else.
Yeah.
And he basically is going to blackmail Edward Norton's character,
Yeah.
and Edward Norton's character is like, well, that's not going to happen. So he dumps some pineapple juice into a cocktail, and Dave Bautista's character is allergic to it, and he does a cool little sleight of hand thing where he hands him his drink, and bye, Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Yep.
I liked that throughout the movie we're waiting for this murder to happen so that we can start trying to figure out who did it. But that murder actually means absolutely nothing to the plot.
No, it
really
doesn't.
doesn't.
It-
It throws you off. It really kind of throws you off. Plus, you're not expecting this character to be the one that gets murdered. I mean, I felt like he was not that. I don't. Again, Dave Bautista. I'm not saying you're not
Please, you're
important,
making enemies.
but
We're just a little podcast. You're sinking our ship.
sinking our ship. I'm not saying that he's. I mean, of course,
His
I knew who he was,
character.
but I
The
felt like his
character in the
character is
movie.
like, he's still living with his mom, trying to be a YouTube sensation kind of a person, and obviously not in his 20s. So, I felt like for him to die, it just didn't make any sense. It's like, why him? And then, we figure out why, because he's actually going to try to, blackmail his friend, Miles.
Who turns out is not a good friend to any of them.
No, he's not a good friend. He's just a rich asshole. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he ended up Zuckerberging Andy, which is why Andy is now dead, is because she had proof that he did not come up with the idea of this artificial intelligence program or vague technology thing that they created. But through the investigation, we find out how these people know each other, which, like, how they ended up where they are is still kind of like a weird path that all these people went on, because like there's just a bunch of nobodies who get together to have a drink at this bar called the Glass Onion, and they're gonna just like take over the world somehow.
Right.
Like
Somehow.
how Catherine Hahn ends up becoming a governor a governor candidate for New Jersey, and like Dave Bautista's character is the only one that kind of makes sense, that he would go and become like a Twitch or YouTube star.
Yeah.
Everyone else just kind of like Kate Hudson's character becomes an influencer and a fashionista. Is like, okay, sure.
Yeah, but then we
that's
find
the
out
movie's
it's all
telling me.
bankrolled through Miles. He's
Yep.
bankrolled all of them, and the reason he does it is so that so they owe him. So he has.
So they take the
quote-unquote
fall for
friends.
all of his bad decisions.
Yeah. So they, so he's got built-in witnesses for anything that he does wrong, that they can be false witnesses for him and get him out of trouble. So he pretty much has just bought.
He bought everything he needs to be
Yes,
successful.
Exactly. Yeah. And to be able to do whatever you want to whoever you want, and then have people around you lie for you. So
Yeah, not too dissimilar from what's that guy who just bought Twitter for $44 billion?
Right.
Elon Musk, that guy. Yeah, not too dissimilar from him, where he got a bunch of handouts and just bought into things at the right time and made a bunch of money.
yeah, and the world is full of them.
Yep.
And I feel like the world is more full of them than it used to be. So, I don't know what's happening. We seem to have a lot of them. So, and yeah, they just, we get, I guess people in our society just get to be they're so wealthy that the lines get blurred between right and wrong, and moral and immoral, and ethical and unethical. And when you have enough money, I guess the lines don't count.
I think it's always been that way. We just know about it more because social media
Maybe so.
exposes everything.
And our media in general, our
And,
news
yeah,
media
yeah.
also exposes everything. I mean, we've got 24-hour news. What else are we going to talk about?
Exactly.
So it used to be, I'm sure the Rockefellers, not that they were bad people.
Oh my God. Please, Karen, would you just stop it? Holy cow.
I mean, like those Kennedys. Not that they were horrible.
We are just, no, sorry. We're all bankrupt now, and we don't know why.
Podcast. We don't have one anymore.
We had a book that was doing well, but for whatever reason, it's just not anymore. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
Do you have
I'm
anything
just-
to say about Jeff Bezos? I mean, I feel like that's the only person you haven't attacked yet.
No.
Well, I
No.
could, but I don't think
No.
Anne's like giving me the kibosh sign, so
Yes.
I'm not
Loose
allowed.
I mean,
Flip.
his website
See?
is
No.
selling your book right now, so
Exactly. I think I need to be a little quieter on that side, just because
Oh my
we would like
gosh.
for people to use that platform to purchase our book.
I mean,
But
I'll
I'm
say it,
just
billionaires
saying.
shouldn't exist.
No, we're talking about
I
a good, fun movie.
Let's get back to the fun
Character-
movie.
Fun movie. Twisty plots. Yay.
I just
Glass
really enjoyed
onions.
this cast of characters. I thought they were quirky.
They were quirky. It was
Yes, they
good.
were.
It added to
the Mona Lisa plays a role in this. Did you think? What did you think the role for the Mona Lisa was going to be?
Um, I really thought that I thought her eyes were going to be cameras.
I did
and
too.
that after he burned the napkin, I thought that they were going to be able to replay the video of
Right.
him burning the napkin because the Mona Lisa had eyes on him. But you know what? When the Mona Lisa catches on fire and burns, that's where you lose me.
Yeah.
Because
That's just not going to happen.
That's just not.
Yeah,
Don't burn
that
the
was
Mona
all for the
Lisa.
payoff of him having to be mentioned in the same sentence as the Mona Lisa, which I
I
mean,
know.
I thought that was great, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you really had to burn the Mona Lisa to get that punchline.
Right.
Exactly. And then you're like, okay, so not that any of this really took place, but that's when it gets so far fetched for me. Like, it's like, okay, we know nobody burned the Mona Lisa. Like, get over yourself. So
Please stop.
Well, now in the Knives Out universe, the Mona Lisa does not exist. It got burned in a billionaire's
exactly.
house
My
party.
husband was kind of halfway watching this movie with me, but not really. And I was like, honey, did you see in the news? He said, what? I said, the Mona Lisa burned. He's like, what? It's like, it's just on this, it's on the movie, but I just want to let you know that they burned the Mona Lisa.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
like, okay. I just think it would have been better if she had cameras because then she would have caught him. And so it would have been a really big twist backwards at him that the Mona Lisa caught him.
Right.
So then she would have been, it would have, I don't know.
I
Who
see.
wrote
I
this
understand
movie?
what you were
Should
saying.
I rank to and
I
let them know the
thoroughly enjoyed
alternate
every
ending?
part of this movie. It was fantastic. The writing, the casting, the design.
Anne's going to go far in her
I
career
loved the
as a
set.
podcaster, but I will be a footnote.
She's going to be one of those first reaction influencers where
Yes.
every movie is the greatest movie ever just because you got
Greatest-
invited to the and got treated to some extra drinks and
Yes, and they will
cocktails.
never invite me anywhere because I'm gonna be like, yeah, I think this could have been worked. We could have worked on
Could
this
have
a little
done
bit
that
longer,
better.
guys. Maybe you needed one more round of edits.
One book, and she's very sassy.
I'm very sassy.
Getting too big for her britches.
Listen, if
mean-
you think I wasn't sassy before that book, you are smoking dope.
Please don't accuse our host of smoking
No,
dope.
I mean, like figuratively. Okay. Keep.
All right. Well, let's start winding down here. We've covered a lot of this movie, and I think we're kind of losing the plot a little bit.
Yeah, the train is off the tracks, Josh.
So before we go, we have to give our ratings, which on Talking Smack, we give a must-see or a pass because there's no nuance on the internet anymore. It's either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. So Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Is it a must-see or a pass?
Ooh, that's a really hard one.
I'm going to say it's a must see because I don't think it's a pass.
I don't think it's a pass either. I think it's a must see.
Yeah.
I think it's entertaining. It's not, I would not have enjoyed paying a lot of money to see this movie in the theater.
No.
A free Netflix deal.
Yep.
It's a pass. No. I mean,
no,
it's a
no,
do.
sugar.
I want to
Now
watch
you've
it.
pissed 'em off.
Must see.
I agree. It is a must-see, and I am excited that they are making at least one more of these.
Oh, good.
Ryan Johnson, the writer director, made I think he made a 2 or 3 picture deal with Netflix to make a few more. So there's
please
at least
have us
one more
back for
coming
the
out.
next one.
Please make sure we come back for the next review.
Oh yeah, unless something crazy happens and I can't do the podcast anymore, we'll definitely be doing more of these.
Hopefully I'll be allowed to podcast. Hopefully my podcast certification license has not been revoked. I'll try to behave.
I think your renewal fee went up a little bit, but I think we can work our way around it. I know some
Thank
people.
you so much, Josh. I appreciate your support.
So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Karen and Ann, thank you so much from the Sugar Coated Murder podcast. Please give us your socials and plug the podcast one more time.
Sure. You can go to sugarcoatedpod.com. That's our website. And we're also on all of your favorite listening apps and even some that may not be your favorites. I don't know. And our podcast is called Sugar Coated Murder. We bake, we talk about true crime. We're sisters. We're a little campy ourselves. and we can get a little boozy at times, but it's all to relieve probably a little bit of the darkness that we talk about when we're trying to give victims back their voices. And we hope that people tune in and listen. And we absolutely adore you, Josh. And we thank you so much for letting us come on here and talk about this glass onion that's a must see.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time as well. Obviously, I love the podcast. I'm going to read the book, but I'm sure the book is great as well,
Thank
which we
you.
will have a link to the website and the book in the episode description. So definitely get on that. And if you want the autographed copy, going to be a little bit more, but I think it'll be worth it for you, especially if you're a big true crime fan.
Absolutely. And they can email us to get that at murder.sugarcoated
At gmail.com.
There you go.
It's like you two have rehearsed that before.
We might have said it once or twice.
You can follow me on Twitter at Josh_Scar. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Talking Smack Pod. We're also on Post and Hive as well as Facebook. So you can find us on most popular social media platforms. You can email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com. Thank you to Leo Allen for our musical themes and Beppo and Retro Ale Studios for our avatars. Please rate, subscribe, review. You can also write us. I mean, you can write an email or a letter. I don't give out my address, but you can write a letter somehow. That's fine. Scan it and then email it to us. I used to work at a customer service site that dealt with like order confirmations, and we would ask people like, hey, send us your order confirmation. And sometimes people would like print out the order confirmation, scan it, and then email that scan to us.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
That's funny.
It was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah, they went through a couple extra steps there.
All because they didn't know how to forward an email.
Yeah, well, it can be tricky for old people. Give us a break.
It's true. But thanks everyone again so much for listening. Karen, Ann, thank you again so much for taking the time. Everyone, take care, have a happy new year, and we will see you in 2023.
Sounds good. Thanks, Josh.
Bye.
Watch Star Trek.
It's a dangerous thing to mistake speaking without thought for speaking the truth. Don't you think?